The Big 12 needs to stay out of playoff discussions. Let the SEC and Big 10 decide things. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, we got to get into this news as Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, taking a shot at the SEC and the Big 10, voicing his strong support again on Friday at the Big 12 spring meetings in Orlando, expressing his support for the 5+11 college football format. So the two big models that have been discussed publicly, at least, are, this is for the future of the college football playoff. We all know this thing is going to expand to 16 teams. While the SEC and the Big 10 have publicly talked about doing, what they've said, the 4-4 plus, blah, 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 blah. Basically, the SEC and the Big 10 both get 4 automatic bids each. But in the Big 12 and some of these other conferences, they want the 5+11, where you take all the conference champs, the best group of 5, and then 11 at-large bids. Now, look, the reality is this could benefit the SEC still, but I think the SEC is looking out for themselves and the Big Ten, saying, we don't want to risk more Boise's and more, Arizona States and SMUs and some of these teams that, really have no business being in the playoff, at least in terms of leaving out big-time SEC teams that might be right there. Might be a debate between 11-1 Boise and, 10-2 or 9-3 SEC team, whatever the case is. But there's been a lot of strong momentum for that expanded playoff. While Brett Yormark urging the SEC and Big Ten to go along with the proposal for the 5-11, saying the two conferences have dominated college football in recent years. They have a great responsibility to follow through on the new format. Here was Yormark's quote. He said, "I think there's real momentum for 5-11. Certainly the public is voting yes for it, which I think is critically important. Yes, the Big Ten and SEC are leading the discussions, but with leading those discussions, they have a great responsibility that goes with it to do what's right for college football and not to do anything that just benefits the two conferences. I have a lot of faith in the process, and I think we'll land in the right place." Again, this is just total Brett Yormark. You're not in the cool kid group. So, of course, you want the thing that, that they don't want. And, you want to send that message that, hey, you want to do what's right for college football. Again, if the shoe was on the other foot, if this were flipped, if Brett Yormark were head of the SEC and Greg Sankey were head of the Big 12, Yormark would be singing the other side. He'd be going, we're all for automatic bids, whatever. Greg Sankey, by the way, he has not been quiet on this whole thing. He has voiced, basically said that they have not decided on or not committed to any particular format. But he did also say the 4+4+2+2+1 model could actually wind up costing the SEC future spots. 5+11, again, there's only one SEC team in that top 5. But how many could you get in those 11 at-large bids? So, according to reports, the SEC currently favors that potential model that would feature 5 automatic bids to conference champions and 11 at-large bids. The Big Ten wants the 4+4 plus blah, 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 blah. According to Greg McElroy, the discussion between the two models ultimately boils down to the SEC's conference schedule. The SEC plays 8 conference games, which obviously favors the 5+11 if they do not add the 9th conference game. If they do add the 9th conference game, like the Big Ten plays, then you kind of want to have those 4 guaranteed automatic bids in there. So, like I said, Big Ten strongly opposed to the 5+11. SEC kind of leaning towards that right now, but we'll see what the pressure is for the SEC to add that 9th conference game. You add a 9th conference game, you're adding a loss to everybody in the conference's schedule, and the likelihood of less teams being able to make those 11 spots at large. Look, I get it. My head spins talking about all this stuff. I just think look, I want to see the best teams in. I think Lane Kiffin said that. I think several other people said that. I think I was originally on the side of the 4 automatic bids for the SEC because I made the argument, they expanded with 2 big brands. You go get 2 monster brands like Texas and Oklahoma, and the Big Ten goes and gets Oregon and USC and UCLA and all these big monster brands. You got the biggest brands. You should get the most teams into the playoff. And that's where I say, like the Arizona States or whatever other Big 12 teams, Houston or Colorado, like I don't know if you deserve to be in over a team that played an SEC schedule. I mean, look at South Carolina at the end of last year. They were red hot. They were 9-3, and people are, 3-loss team shouldn't get in. Well, look at the resume. And this is where I get into the case of, well, do they have better wins than, say, some of these other teams that are 11-1 or 10-2? And so that's where the real debate will fall. But again, I think the SEC going to play this thing, play this thing out. Coming out of spring meetings, Greg Sankey addressed the SEC schedule, but did not have a firm answer on whether the league will stay at 8 conference games. So the main focus is getting clarity around the college football playoff directions. So it's almost like it's a chicken or the egg. They're going, hey, college football playoff, let us know what you're going to do, what format you're going to use, and then we'll decide if we're going to play a 9th conference game or not. So, all right, we'll revisit that as more comes out of that. The big thing appears that they are looking at the college football playoff now, saying, hey, we would like you guys to make a decision on that format sometime before December so we can kind of figure out what our schedule is going to be in 2026. So, all right, other news going on around the SEC over at Georgia. Kirby Smart saying that money drove the decision to keep Florida and Georgia at neutral sites. This is in 26 and 27. Stadium renovations happening in Jacksonville with Everbank Stadium. Set to undergo those. Georgia and Florida will take their rivalry games elsewhere for those 2 seasons. In 2026, they will play each other in Atlanta, and then the game will be played in Tampa in 2027 before finally returning back to Jacksonville in 2028. Kirby Smart asked a few days ago whether he had any role in the decision to keep the game as a neutral site game. He said that was an athletic director decision. It ultimately came based on money. And, Atlanta and Tampa both ponied up and really made good financial offers. Georgia's dominated this rivalry in recent years. They've won 4 in a row, 7 of the last 8. Florida's only win in that time span was the COVID year 2020. Georgia-Florida rivalry has been played annually in Jacksonville since 1995. Series was played on campus sites in 94 and 95, but also played in Jacksonville for many years prior to that. So, this will be a fun one, November 1st, but then, last one in Jacksonville for a couple of years, and then it's on the road. I've brought this up before. I mean, I've said, why didn't they just take it to the campuses for these 2 years? Obviously the fan bases want to see them and, with recruits and all that kind of stuff. But again, like Kirby said, the 2 cities ponied up, Atlanta and Tampa, they paid the money. And so Georgia-Florida rivalry will be played in those 2 sites away from Jacksonville in 2026 and 2027. One other note here, Brian Kelly made some headlines a couple of days ago on Paul Feinbaum, telling Paul Feinbaum that this is the best roster he has coached since he got to Baton Rouge. He said every coach here at the SEC meetings believes they got the best team they've ever had. So you leave these meetings and you're like, is there a chance I could win a game? But we know our roster. This is the best roster we've put together. It's part of a process that has taken a little bit more time than we wanted, but we're doing it the right way. And we're pretty excited about what our football team is going to look like. So optimism high for LSU with Garrett Nussmeier back at quarterback for LSU. They also get back some big pieces on that defense, including Harold Perkins, who got hurt early in the season last year and got a whole nother year of bring back another year to LSU. They'll get Jacoby and Guillory back on the interior of that D-line. And then all the pieces they brought in through the portal, from Jack Pyburn to Patrick Payton, to Marcus Cooley, Mansour Delane, a lot of pieces on that defense. And LSU, a monster season opener coming up against Clemson to open week 1 on August 30th. So big game there. If they can win that one, yeah, LSU certainly in that conversation among potential playoff teams heading into 2025. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll touch on the baseball action from the weekend. That's coming your way in just a second. Have you guys ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment? It's very easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building your wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize just how much you're spending on things like food delivery. You're going to budget smarter and you're going to save more. And the best part is, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Go take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com. Get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year. Check them out today at monarchmoney.com. All right, right along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out each and every day. All right, we talked some college football in the first segment. We got to get into some SEC baseball this segment, as the SEC is taking an absolute beating in what happened over the weekend in the world of the NCAA baseball regionals. First up, it was number 1 national seed Vanderbilt. They are out, eliminated by Wright State in a shocker. Vanderbilt becomes the first number 1 overall national seed to miss a regional final. Absolutely brutal, as the Commodores managed only 12 hits across 3 games. They fell 5-4 to 4 seed Wright State in an elimination game. Sunday's game, arguably the worst of the 3. Vanderbilt still could not produce anything over 8+ innings against Wright State's pitcher Griffin Page, who came into the day with an ERA of 8.90. Coach Tim Corbin and his team are going to have a long offseason ahead with a lot of questions to answer about this lineup's just epic collapse. I mean, they were so good in the SEC tournament, and they got home in a regional, and they just absolutely fell apart. Corbin saying after the game, it was tough, it was hard. Offense, hard to come by. Felt tough, felt heavy. Guys are trying. I feel like I didn't equip them properly in some way. So Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt, man, a long offseason ahead, as they will look back and wonder what could have been. But both the number 1 seeds in baseball and softball, both from the SEC, eliminated at home without even reaching the super regional round. We saw Texas A&M softball do it, and now Vanderbilt baseball do it, both in that first weekend of the postseason. Absolutely brutal. How about 2 seed Texas? They go down. UTSA upsets Texas and Austin. UTSA advances to their first ever super regional, and Texas goes down Sunday evening 7-4. And both top 2 national seeds go down in the first weekend. I believe that's only happened once ever, but an embarrassing loss for Jim Schlossnagle, who just played for a national championship a year ago at Texas A&M. Obviously, look, he overachieved this year in the regular season. Nobody expected Texas to win the SEC regular season in year 1, but the fact they played so well all year, won the SEC regular season title, nobody expected them to get ousted at home by UT San Antonio. To top it off, during an in-game interview on Sunday, Jim Schlossnagle appeared to say "gig 'em" at the end of an interview before he corrected himself and said "hook 'em." So, man, just a brutal weekend for those in Austin as well. And look, there's a lot of Aggie fans laughing. I know the Aggies didn't make it to the postseason. Michael Early did not, deliver in year 1, but I know they're pointing fingers over at the folks in Austin saying, well, at least Schlossnagle failed to get out of the first weekend as the number 2 overall team in the baseball postseason. So both the Aggies and Longhorns sitting home as we head into weekend number 2. By the way, Michael Early did get a vote of confidence a few days ago from their athletic director. So Michael Early will be back with the Aggies in year 2 there. See what he does next year. All right, some other games for the weekend. Oklahoma State stunned Georgia, overcoming a 2-run deficit in the 9th inning for a walk-off win. to eliminate Georgia, the number 7 national seed from the NCAA tournament. Bulldogs took a 9-7 lead into the bottom of the ninth. Brock Thompson came up and ended it with a walk-off 2-run homer to win 11-9. And this is the second straight postseason that Georgia's season has come to an end at home. If you remember, last year was losing a super regional to NC State at home in Athens. This year was losing at home in Athens in the regional round. So Wes Johnson just getting that big contract extension, great. But I know a lot of Georgia fans saying, eek, man, what could have been last postseason and this postseason. But some teams on the road. Florida got eliminated in their blowout loss to East Carolina in the Coastal Carolina Regional this weekend. And they gave up 11 runs to ECU in Friday's regional opener and then allowed 11 more runs on Sunday in an 11-4 loss that eliminated the Gators, and they are headed home. There was some negative story out there on Sunday about how their coach Kevin O'Sullivan reacted in the NCAA regional. Apparently, some game times were changed, and he took exception to it and kind of badmouthed some folks. According to a report in Greenville, North Carolina, O'Sullivan ripped into the NCAA staff on site for the tournament over a schedule change, and the incident didn't sit well with the Coastal Carolina coach. He took to the podium and said, "Another coach disrespected our associate AD. He disrespected our field crew. These guys would do anything for you. It's not okay. This needs to be brought up. Absolutely disrespectful." So there have been some stories, negative stories about Kevin O'Sullivan over the years, and that one just added to the list. But Florida going home as a 2-seed. Alabama also going home. They fell to Southern Miss in an elimination game. Fell to Miami in a hard-fought game on Friday. And Bama, they would load the bases with 2 outs at the bottom of the ninth, but a ground out ended the game and the season for the Tide. Now Rob Vaughn has had first weekend exits in the regional round in his first 2 seasons as Alabama's head coach. How about Mississippi State? They fell to Florida State as the Seminoles rallied in their Tallahassee regional to beat Mississippi State 5-2 on Sunday. Mississippi State had a 2-0 lead through the 7th inning stretch before the Noles tied it up in the bottom of the 7th. And then top of the 8th, Florida State took the lead, putting 3 runs on the board. State survived elimination earlier in the day, beating Northeastern 3-2, but the Bulldog season comes to an end, and we'll wait to see who their next head coach will be. Kentucky, they blew a couple of leads all weekend against West Virginia. They beat host Clemson on Sunday 16-4 in an elimination game, and they had a lead all evening against West Virginia, but the Mountaineers coming back late to beat the Wildcats 13-12. So Kentucky and Nick Mingione, they head home, and Kentucky, they are done. So who's still battling? All right, well, we got Wake Forest. They walked off Tennessee on Sunday evening, so that forces a rematch in the Knoxville Regional, a winner-take-all game today if you're watching us on Monday. And, of course, the winner of that will be paired up with the Fayetteville Regional. Meanwhile, Ole Miss, they outlasted Georgia Tech, avoided elimination. The Oxford Regional, and then they put it on Murray State on Saturday evening to force a winner-take-all game on Monday as well. So, and Ole Miss, they won 19-7, I believe it was, against Murray State. So, big win there for the Ole Miss Rebels. Oklahoma, they're giving North Carolina all they can handle. The Sooners beat Nebraska yesterday, 17-1 in an elimination game. They came back that night to beat host North Carolina 9-5. So winner take all at Chapel Hill. As of this recording, LSU losing at home to Little Rock late. So if LSU goes on to lose that one, that sets up a winner take all game on Monday. So the question is, who is advanced? Well, we got Arkansas. They beat Creighton to advance to a super regional. The 3-seed Razorbacks beat North Dakota State 6-2 on Friday, beat Creighton 12-1 on Saturday, and then beat Creighton again on Sunday, Sunday evening as well. So the Arkansas Razorbacks, they appear to be a team on a mission. Dave Van Horn's crew. We'll see if they will get that highly sought after matchup against Tennessee. I think we all want to see that one. So let's see if the Vols can take care of business. And if they do, they will head to Arkansas this coming weekend. Meanwhile, Auburn, they crushed NC State on Sunday night, 11-1 to take the Auburn Regional. They beat Central Connecticut 9-5, and then they beat Stetson 8-5 before crushing NC State. Butch Thompson's crew is moving on to the Super Regional weekend where they will host Coastal Carolina. So Auburn really, Auburn and Arkansas both doing their thing. Both have been outstanding, and so going to be a lot of fun to see those two teams this coming weekend, and hopefully we get some more SEC teams joining them. The only teams left alive: Tennessee, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and LSU. And we'll see if any of those teams can punch their tickets. But we were expecting a huge field in Omaha for, a big collection of SEC teams. And now those numbers really dwindled coming out of weekend one. Half the field gone already in the SEC. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. When we return, touch briefly on the women's softball College World Series happening in Oklahoma City. We got some SEC action there. We'll touch on that next. All right, run along here to Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Some great softball action in the Women's College World Series happening over the weekend. It was tough to keep up because, the baseball regionals going on too, and I'm trying to watch both, and it's like, can we separate these a little bit? I gotta have the multiple TVs going on, but Texas on Saturday beat Oklahoma 4-2 in the double elimination round to send the Sooners to an elimination game on Sunday. Texas just looked super impressive, and this was the championship last year, right? Texas, Oklahoma, and one of the best rivalries from the Big 12 that's carried over to the SEC now. And so congrats to Texas on that big win on Saturday. The Sooners, though, they go into the elimination game on Sunday, and they beat Oregon 4-1 as Sam Landry pitched 4 1/3 shutout innings for Oklahoma to get the win and eliminate the Oregon Ducks. So congrats to the Sooners. Patty Gasso and crew, they move on. And the other elimination game on Sunday, Tennessee walked off UCLA in extra innings, and they remained alive in their elimination game. The Lady Volunteers may feel like they had to win it twice. Tennessee nearly ended the game in regulation. They led 4-2 after 6 innings, and they were 3 outs away at the top of the 7th. UCLA was down to its final out when Megan Grant hit a 2-run home run to tie it 4-4. But replay showed Grant did not step on home plate before celebrating with her teammates. So the game was stopped for a very lengthy review, only for the crew to come back and say the play was not reviewable due to Appendix G in the rule book, which basically they said the runner did miss home plate. It was assisted. However, that play is not reviewable. UCLA tied the game with that home run in the 7th inning. Tennessee challenged the play, and the review was upheld. So basically they're saying, we see it on video evidence that she didn't cross home plate. And then one of her teammates, I guess, kind of like pushed her across the plate or something. So they're saying that's assisted. But basically they're saying like that play of the assist was not reviewable. So whatever, that just sounds like one of those silly things that's going to become a rule in the offseason. So expect that rule change to happen. But Tennessee and UCLA, they went to the bottom of the 7th, rather, still knotted up after 7, went to extra innings. The bottom of the 9th, Taylor Pennell led off with a double off the wall with 1 out. It was like literally inches from being a walk-off home run, but UCLA ended up loading the bases for a force out at every base, and it didn't matter. Laura Mueller singled to left field to end it. So Tennessee, their win means at least one SEC team will play in the Women's College World Series. So this is what sets up for today. It's double elimination round starting today. Tennessee will play Texas, and Oklahoma will play Texas Tech. So like we said, we are guaranteed one SEC team in the championship from the Tennessee versus Texas side. Tennessee will have to beat Texas twice to get there. Texas just needs to win once. If Texas wins in the first game, they're moving on. If Tennessee wins, it'll force a winner-take-all game later today. Oklahoma, they have to do that as well. They have to beat Texas Tech twice to get to the championship. And look, Patty Gasso's crew, they have won 4 straight national championships. They're trying to make it 5 straight in a row. So don't discount Oklahoma. Texas Tech, they've played phenomenally so far, but man, I'm not betting against Oklahoma. They've been a juggernaut. They're playing their own backyard in Oklahoma City. So would love to see a Texas-Oklahoma rematch. Would love to see a Tennessee-Oklahoma match. Either way, an all-SEC championship would be outstanding. Hey, before we get out of here, just a couple of quick recruiting nuggets on the football front. Georgia got a commitment from a 4-star D lineman, Carter Lucky, for the class of 2026. Told On3 about his decision to join Kirby Smart, picking them over Florida State, Ohio State, and others. He's 6'5", 275 pounds, 4-star D lineman, so he is headed to Georgia in 2026. Meanwhile, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators getting some good news on the recruiting front as G Carr. Now, his name is spelled G''Nivre. And every video I try to look up his pronunciation, everybody refer to him simply as G. Hey, G, answer this question for me. So we're going to call him G as well. G Carr, 3-star, number 39 interior offensive lineman, number 59 player from the state of Florida for the class of 2026. And he's recruited by a ton of different schools that offers for many. Picked Florida over Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. It's just the 3rd player to commit to the Gators in the class of 2026, joining quarterback Will Griffin and D lineman Jameer Perez. So start to pick up some names here. We talked about a few weeks ago with our recruiting insider, Brian Smith, about Billy Napier and the Florida Gators being a little bit slow in building this recruiting class, but starting to pick up a little bit more, and O-lineman G Carr added to the mix there in Gainesville. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your second listen, you can check out our buddy Brian Smith with The Portal. He has been talking everything about the recruiting classes, the transfer portal, who's going where. He's got you covered with everything with The Portal. So check that out wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. Has been Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Come on back and see us then. We'll get you caught up with. Let's see how many SEC baseball teams are headed to the Super Regional round. We'll talk about that tomorrow.